Tom looked at me and he went, "You've got a disadvantage in every lift. If the crowd's bothering you, don't look at them.
Oh.
They don't know who you're looking at. Never turn your hobby into a job. You just have to weigh it up, work out what the advantage is on both sides, and then make a jump. It's better to regret something you have done than to regret something you haven't done.
Oh.
Make sure you get Kaiko before the drug test. What's going on? He's cheating. I don't run for nothing. If people want to interview me, fine. If they don't, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about me. It's not about me as a personality or anything like that. But I guess it can be kind of fringe.
Yeah.
You know?
And your surname is pronounced Whiteley or?
Whiteley. People always get it wrong, and this is why I've got such a thing about pronouncing people's names right. Because the amount of times my wife's won titles a few times, the amount of times I've seen her on the podium and somebody's gone, "Oh, and Joe Whiteley?" And they say it with a question and air in the voice. And you know they've not got it right, but they don't know what it is. People always spell it wrong as well. People always miss out one of the E's. So this is why I've got such a thing about getting people's names right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Quit and Build Show. Today's host will be Joe Whiteley. Yeah, he is another because you are the second. No, you are the first IPF speaker who I have in here.
Okay.
First, guy before you was EPF speaker, but it doesn't matter because I'm really curious in those guys because
it doesn't really matter too much.
You have great stories. Hopefully, everyone has.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you some of them.
That's what I'm looking forward to. We can edit everything out.
Sure.
So, Joe, the first question I have won't be any surprising fact. How did you get here? Tell me your story.
Okay, so my wife competes. We were involved in grassroots powerlifting in the UK, and I used to, if I go to a competition and I don't have a job, I very quickly get bored. Right? I always have to be doing something. Yeah. So I used to run the score sheet back in the days when it was Next Lift. In fact, this was even prior to Next Lift. This was us basically running a competition by typing stuff into Excel, and so I was running the score sheet. It was a competition. It was I think it was the Roses Cup, which is a competition between Lancashire and Yorkshire in the UK. You heard of the Wars of the Roses?
Yeah, kind of.
So one of them is a white rose, that's Yorkshire. One of them is a red rose, that's Lancashire.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, right. So the Roses Cup was a competition that was, Lancashire versus Yorkshire. Anyway, Yorkshire, I'm looking at you, didn't bring enough referees. So the guy that was normally speaker, who was a referee, had to referee. So he said, you've seen me do this before. So he handed me the microphone and I called a couple of lifts and the whole room was going, "Oh, can you keep doing that, please?" So I realised I'd got a talent for it and that I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then I just I wanted to do more and I wanted to, do bigger shows and stuff like that. So I would turn up at places and get my elbows out and say, "Hey, I'm here. Would you like to use me?" So we did, started doing regionals, then nationals, and showed up at a couple of internationals. In fact, the first time I ever spoke on the international mic, I called 3 lifts in La Manga at a European, I think it was a European Masters, for Martin Flett. Martin Flett of Scotland, very much of Scotland actually, lives out on the islands. And Martin called me over and he said, "Can you call the rest of the lifts, please? Because I really need to go to the bathroom." I was like, sure. So I called the rest of the round, and there we go. And then I managed to get to, my wife was competing at Bench Worlds in South Africa. Hanny Smith put it on. And at the time, Gino was the man at the time, right? So I was like, I'm never going to be able to replace Gino. And I don't want to push somebody out anyway, right? So I was doing commentary. I decided to do some commentary. So I turned up and I said to Hanny, "Look, I'm here if you need me. I can do commentary." And I said, "I'm a good commentator, but I'm an excellent speaker." And Hanny went, "Okay, prove it." So I did, and I think I did pretty well. And then I got a message from Gino. "Hey man, see you on the mic in Calgary." And that was Calgary, was that 2017? When it was like juniors, masters, open, all combined, because we were able to cram that into 2 weeks back then. juniors is like 10 days on its own now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the sport's amazing. So, yeah, I arrived in Calgary, covered morning sessions and stuff like that for Gino. Oh, 2 platforms. I do not like 2 platforms.
Yeah.
You can't do anything, you know.
That's true.
Loaded on 1, no lift on 2, no good lift on 3.
Yeah.
Within seconds, you're looking at 2 different counters counting down, and you're like, "Did I call good lift? Is that no?"
Yeah. And you did it on your own, like 2 platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I have another story about that, but we'll get there. We're still in Calgary at the moment. So yeah, I turned up, helped Gino out, and that kind of thing. And then, as luck would have it, Gino ended up with the IPF wanted to look more like an Olympic kind of sport, and Gino is the rock star, flamboyant pirate that he is, and didn't want to not do that. So I think they eventually agreed to part ways. I mean, Gino is absolutely rocking it in USAPL.
That's right.
And, you know, when you see Gino in a casino in Vegas, in all of his finery, glasses on, the whole lot, calling the lifts, that is absolutely perfect for him. And he doesn't have to do international travel either.
That's true.
So yeah, and I just ended up that they gave me junior equipped worlds in Regina in Canada, and then it was my first big gig was equipped worlds in Dubai in 2019, and I was like, yeah, here we go, this is it, and then COVID happened.
Oh yeah.
So, and I don't know if you know when. Was it 20? There were no competitions in 2020, basically. And then 2021, they managed to put something together at the Elico headquarters in Halmstad in Sweden. It's a cool place, by the way. Cool place. And there were supposed to be 2 announcers, but because of COVID, lots of people couldn't get there, that kind of thing. So that was 2 platforms for the first 6 days, 2 platforms, 3 sessions a day. And I'll tell you something really bad about 2 platforms, right? You're over here, you've got, say, you know, a 2-flight competition, so you've got 10-minute breaks. Over here, you've got a 1-flight competition, 20-minute breaks.
Oh.
You know what I'm going to say. Do those breaks line up? They do not. Not at all, not ever.
Oh.
So you're standing there for 6 hours, and yeah, I managed to make it to about this point in the competition. So we'd just done the 93s, right?
Yeah.
I managed to make it to the 93s, and I couldn't do any more at all.
Yeah.
So we agreed then. This was when we agreed, like, we have to have more than 1 announcer. We don't do 2 platforms anymore if we possibly
That's crazy.
avoid it. Yeah. But yeah, I wondered if I'd blown it at that point, but no, people were still happy to have me back. And here I am.
Yeah.
And now I'm training new speakers like yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Well, that's it. You've broken your duck at an international IPF meet now. You know the phrase "broken your duck"?
Broken your duck. Yeah, like made your way, or
it's a cricket term.
Okay.
So a duck. Why this is, I don't know, but a duck is 0.
Okay.
And when you break your duck, you actually make a score.
Oh,
yeah,
like that.
So
that's
there
true.
you go. The English idioms.
Yeah, it's all right. I know one new one. That's like.
This is it. Yeah. So.
That was your journey. That's so inspiring. Like for me, definitely.
Yeah.
Hopefully, also for others, because you know it's pleasure also to have you here. Sure. And my question right now, you told me that your announcer's way. Like, how did you get here, or just, and how did you get to powerlifting? Because you know you are not a powerlifter. I found what I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I was also.
Did you find me on Open IPF?
Yeah, I found.
You were like. Some guy just did 1 competition.
Yeah, 1 competition.
Squatted the same as he benched.
Yeah. So 75, and 100. Yeah, that was you.
27 white lights, 9 for 9.
Yeah,
won my class, even though I was the only one in it, because that's powerlifting. That's not how I got to it at all. I mean, my sport is I'm an endurance guy, right? I'm an okay runner. I'm a pretty good. Well, I was a pretty good cyclist, and so I don't do so much of it anymore. I need to get back to that. But my wife got into it. She was wanting to get fit. She had a personal trainer. Her personal trainer was like, "Oh, we'll try this. We'll try boxing. We'll try various things." Then he put a barbell in her hands, and he was like, "Oh, you're pretty good at this." And then he looked at the numbers and said, "Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you're squatting 100 there. You should go and do a powerlifting competition. Go and talk to this guy called Jim Blanchflower. He was European champion at one time, I don't think he lifts very much anymore, but Jim was around when I first got into the sport. And Joe went to Jim, and Jim said, "Okay, show me your squat." And she very proudly showed him a 100-kilo squat, and he went, "Yeah, all right, that's nowhere near depth. Take some weight off." And she finally got to she might kill me for this. I might not have got the numbers right, but she finally got to a point where she was squatting to depth, and she was squatting 40 kilos.
Okay.
And then it was like, right, okay, you need to build on that. But when she talked to Jim, Jim said, "All right, you're on my team for the Roses Cup."
Oh.
And she's like, "What? A competition? What?" And you know, she did okay. There's still footage of it out there in a tiny little room in the back of the gym in I think Burnley maybe, or somewhere like that. The room largely occupied by a boxing ring.
Oh.
We'd have spectators sitting in the boxing ring watching the lifting on the platform. Anyway, she found she liked it. She found she was okay at it. She then discovered equipped powerlifting, and she discovered that she's awesome in a bench shirt. I mean, like 165 or something like that. You know,
that's awesome.
So yeah, and the reason I did it was because I was doing the announcing, and I thought, well, how can I talk about this stuff?
Yeah.
And I haven't done it myself. You've got to walk a mile in a man's shoes, right? And then if you're lucky, the man's a mile away and you've got his shoes. But seriously, so I was like, right, I will do this, and I will do it for my own benefit, you know, to make me a better speaker and a more rounded speaker, and also for the amusement of my division. They all get to see this guy who sat there and, you know, made jokes about their names, and laughed about their socks, because obviously at regional competitions you can be a little crazy. We have to be more professional here.
Yeah.
Until I get to the medal ceremony and start making jokes. No, that left.
Oh.
So. Yeah, I thought I would do it, and we enlisted the help of Tom Martin, who newer people to the sport may not know of Tom Martin, but Tom Martin held a deadlift record for a very, very, very long time. He was an amazing deadlifter, great squatter, still lifting, not with the IPF anymore. Yeah. Great coach, absolutely fantastic. Look up Tom Martin if you want coaching, folks.
Yeah, I will show the photo. Yeah. On the edit.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, Tom looked at me, and he went, "Oh, that's interesting." I thought, "Oh, this is good." And he said, "You've got a disadvantage in every lift, because I've got long arms, right? Good for deadlifting, but I've got a long torso, so not good for deadlifting. And then I've got long legs. You'd think that might be okay for squat, but the leverage is all wrong. I've got long fingers, So I'm just really bad at it." So my aim was to use a red plate on every third attempt, which is why it's 75, 125. Tom actually said, "I'd like to put your bench down." And I said, "Why? Do you not think I can do it?" He said, "No, I'd just like you to squat more than you bench." But there it is. So it was a great thing to do. I never want to do it again. The 3 months training and eating right, and all that kind of stuff really took it out of me. I have utmost respect for people who do this. That's day in, day out. But I think it made me a good person. People say, "Oh, you should do it again." I'm like, why would I waste anyone's time? You know?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm better behind the mic talking about it.
Yeah, that's true. Like everyone should keep like their what they are good at or best at it, because you are actually the best.
It's very kind of you to say so.
No, it is. I saw it.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed with a really good voice.
Yeah, that's true.
It was better at the start of the week. It's a little croaky now. Right. I got something to do with shouting "World record."
That's true. That's true. And with your voice is connected to another thing with you, that you were part of the band, wasn't you?
I used to. I sang in a couple of rock bands. We weren't any good. Practically nothing exists online. Actually, there is one track on SoundCloud. I'll give you a link to it later.
Oh dear.
It's all right. My friend wrote it, and he said I need rock vocals, so I went and did it for him. But yeah, I used to sing in a band, and prior to that, I was a trumpet player when I was a kid. So you learn to to use the diaphragm and to project, and I also used to sing in choirs and things like that. Believe it or not, I used to have a soprano voice once, and then this happened. So. I sang in a few rock bands. So it enables you to understand how to project your voice and how to See, I treat it like endurance, basically. You have a resource.
Yeah.
It's a finite resource, and depending on how you use it, depends on how long it lasts.
Yeah, that's...
Because once upon a time, I called every lift for 3 days, 3 flights a day at the British Junior Championships. Interestingly enough, that was where a certain Luke Richardson won his first title. Luke has won the European Europe's Strongest Man recently. Okay. So that Luke Richardson, right? He used to be one of ours. He used to be a powerlifter. He was the best squatter I have ever seen.
Oh,
you know, I mean, you get guys like Daniel Emil Ussel in Denmark, right? Who's textbook perfect squats, but Luke's went a little better than that and were art. They were a thing of beauty. But he's doing a lot better in strongman, you know. At the time when he did that, you didn't make a lot of money as a powerlifter. You couldn't be a professional powerlifter. It's kind of changing now. We have a few now. But yeah, so it was quite an interesting thing to do. And I was very proud of having called every lift for 3 days, and my voice was utterly destroyed. And now I'm like,
it's all right.
Okay, I can do.
You can do more.
I can do more. Although it's really good to have backup, like yourself, like Claire Tocker, like Maya Vaha from Malta, other people I've worked with through the years, you know, who are willing to back me up and help me out and that kind of thing, because you can't do everything. And also, I have to give my best. I have to give my A game for the A flights. And if I've done 6 hours in the morning, then I'm not fresh, right?
That's true.
You know, and I don't have that. I don't have the same energy to bring, and I think I owe that to the lifters and to the audience to, you know, make it.
We saw it yesterday, you know, in 93s, 83, 93s.
93s.
Yeah, 93s.
And in the 83s, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. I wasn't there, but yeah, you've put in a great show.
It's been I mean, the thing is, it's a great show, but it's a great show because we've got great competitive lifters. And really good sportsmanship as well, you know. When you're seeing people having an absolute pitch battle and then hugging one another afterwards, you've seen it yourself in powerlifting. You've seen, I remember Sherry Miles, British lifter, at a British Championships, and she's a deadlifter. I think her deadlift finishes about here. She's got proper long deadlifter arms, very, very good. And I remember Sherry peeking round the corner. She'd pulled her last deadlift, and then a girl was coming out to pull her last deadlift to beat Sherry. And of course, Sherry is round the corner going, cheering her on. Because you want the best lifter to win,
That's
right?
True.
You know, we don't have this kind of, you know, people trying to sabotage it very much in powerlifting. People want to win legit. And people are often disappointed if there isn't someone to beat. Like Amanda Lawrence now. You know, she's unchallenged in the 84s right now. And she's a great lifter, but I'm sure she would rather be challenged.
That's true.
Because, you know, you rise to the challenge. If she had somebody to fight against, then I'm sure she'd put more weight on. As it is, she runs a masterclass every year.
Yeah.
Which we're about to see on. Will that be Saturday?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I force out on Saturday.
76 is today.
Yeah. And when you are standing, that's not a question for me because I also don't have a problem with that. But what would you advise a person who has a problem to speak in front of people? You know, you have spoken in front of the whole hall, full of people who were like cheering. They were looking for the athletes, but still there is somebody who is needed to do that stuff.
I know what you mean. And yeah, it is really intimidating at first. We all get it. They're all looking at me. Oh, what do they think? You know, is my t-shirt crumpled? Am I sweating? You have to get over that. And there's a few tricks that I learned when I was singing in a band, and that is, if the crowd's bothering you, don't look at them. They don't know who you're looking at. Half the time when you're on stage, there's lights, there's stuff. Find something at the back of the hall, focus on it, and address that, and don't worry about people looking at you. And very, very quickly, if you engage a crowd, they will respond, and then you feel you've got a bond going on, you know, that kind of thing. I always regard it as like, you know, when you're dealing with trying to train a dog or something like that. Dogs got, no offense to the powerlifting audience, but this is a decent idiot. If a dog senses any indecision or something like that, then they know that there isn't, you know, you're not in charge. You have to You have to get that, but you have to earn it with a crowd as well. You can't come out and start lecturing them and being, you must do this, you must do. You have to get them on side and get them friendly and go, look, guys, I really need your help. Like when we have somebody who's coming out for their third attempt and they've not got one in yet. You're like, oh, come on, people, we all really need to get behind this person. And get them. And so it feels so good when that happens. When you save somebody from the ignominious, no total kind of thing. You really have to get the crowd on side. And the other thing is, you can't ask too much of them. If you're going to get them to scream and shout and all the rest of it, all right, last night was a little crazy. Once you got to third deadlift, everyone was on their feet and screaming anyway. But you have to pick and choose your moments. You can't be asking them to give 100% every single time, because the best example of that I've ever seen was Sheffiled, the first Sheffiled, which if you weren't there, you missed out. If you haven't got tickets for this year, get them for next year. They will sell out in 24 hours. I said that on the stage, and they absolutely did. There's 2 events next year as well. So anyway, enough shameless SBD promotion. First Sheffiled, I reckon in the first round for the women, probably the first 7 or 8 lifts were world record attempts. And the crowd started to get tired and blasé. They go, oh, another world record. Imagine that. That was the first time I've seen world record fatigue. So you have to know what the audience is capable of, know what they want and that kind of thing. And it depends, if you're announcing a very small meet, then your job really is, you'll know this yourself, you're not just calling what's going on and expecting everybody to understand. You're having to say, now they failed there because when they went towards the rack, that looked like them jumping the rack command, which is a fail, or you tell people that, the butt came up and that's a change of elective position, you can't do it. So people need to know the reasons why. They'll need to know, they've changed that because of this. But really, your job at a small meet, because it's largely people's friends, gym partners, parents. They've maybe never been to a powerlifting competition before, and you'll see them go crazy in the first round of squats. They go a little less crazy in the second round of squats. Third round comes up, you see them do that, look at the score sheet, and then they go, I'm going to be here for about 4 hours. So your job is to get them through that and tell them when to be excited, keep them going, and get the energy in the room for the lifter, really. So in some ways you're there to get them through bench and get them to deadlifts. Sorry, benchers, but it's a great technical lift. It's hard to see. It's hard to film. It's hard to watch, because especially once you start getting people out there, we're going to have people benching 300 this week. You can't see a damn thing. You need 5 spotters around that rack. You've got the weight trees and all the rest of it. And by the time you've got 300 kilos on a bar, the guys that you need to spot it, like, all of the German spotters, but in particular Fifi, if he's there, they're big guys, right? They, to use an English phrase, they make a better door than a window. So it's hard to see. But it's an integral part of it, because otherwise you're just doing squat and deadlift. There's no way to utilise the upper arm, and it means that you get quite a good rounded sport, because you will get people go, bench is just a lie down. But then I've seen people say bench is just a lie down and then get beaten by 60 kilos because somebody out benched them and they deadlifted and squatted a kind of a similar number. So you really can't leave anything to chance,
That's true. So that's your approach actually to how you maybe we'll go back to the question, to overcoming the anxiety of public speaking, because that's definitely.
Sorry, I did ramble quite a lot there. That's kind of in my nature.
Doesn't matter. Like,
I think really you just have to get used to it, and if you get the crowd on your side, and people start to like what you're doing, it becomes less challenging.
Definitely.
But you have to. I think you just have to love it. You have to,
that's true.
You have to turn yourself inside out. I'm actually quite introverted in normal life, but when I come to a powerlifting competition, I turn that inside out and go all out and
that's
chat
cool.
to everybody and all that kind of thing.
I would never guess you are introverted.
As soon as I leave here in the airport on the way home, it's because the headphones on, don't really want to talk to anybody. playing Forza on the fly.
Okay, and imagine you're standing in front of class, because maybe younger generation will definitely also look in. You have some presentation prepared, it's obligation because you have to do it. It was your homework or something like that. How would you like come through this?
Well, see, I've never done that. I didn't really have to do that sort of thing at school. I suppose if I did get up in front of people in school, what I would do is kind of joke around in order to make myself feel more at ease. But I actually, in my day job, we're about to do a road show around the country to the sites where people work and talk to them about what my department does and that kind of thing. And it's the same thing. I'm gonna. You see, it's the same as what you see stand-up comedians do. You will kind of, you'll say a few things. You'll watch the reaction in the room. You'll see who reacts. Maybe you'll spot somebody and say, sir, you've just responded to that. What would you think about?" Engage people. Make it a conversation. Don't push them. Don't antagonize them. Just be friendly. And I think when you've got that, and when you show enough confidence, then people will respect you, and the more charismatic you are about it, then the more. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't really have a manual for it. Yeah, you just have to kind of be you, relax into it, enjoy what you're doing, and that shines through. Then people will follow.
Yeah, thank you for this advice, because this will be definitely useful in a normal life conversation, or not also in a conversation, but in a normal life usage, because
in daily life, you quite often, for job interviews, for example, you have to do a presentation.
That's true.
And that is an antagonistic environment. You've got a bunch of people sitting there going, "All right, I've seen 6 of these already, and we've already decided who we want, so let's get through this, guys." And your job there is to win them over. And get, if you can get somebody laughing, if you can get them to crack and laugh, you're in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think that's your way also you're doing this on a competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned also during your speaking your job. So let's move on. If it's not any secret.
There are certain secret natures to it, but I'm not going to name the company. But what's my title? I have a very highfalutin title. I am the head of cybersecurity operations. What that means actually is I have a small team, and we look after the tools. So there's 2 sides to cybersecurity. There is the compliance stuff where you have to, meet certain standards, tick boxes to, yes, we are using not just passwords, but 2-factor authentication. Yes, we do stop people from connecting into the company from outside of the UK. We have a mandate to do that. But what we really do is we look after the tools. So the thing that collects the logs, and you then build reports on it. So you're like, okay, this guy's got a virus. He was on this website 5 minutes before. He also received this email. He also then opened that document. You're able to piece together what's going on, and ideally stop something before it starts. So we look after all the tools, the email scanner, the DLP, which is data leakage prevention, which is stopping stuff getting out of the organisation, that kind of thing, whether it's financial secrets, customer data, that kind of thing. It's dull as anything if I do my job right. People say, "Oh, that must be really interesting." Hey, if it's interesting, I'm screwed. We've got a problem. They're in. And if they're in, it's too late. Because a ransomware incident can happen in 10 seconds. 10 seconds and everything's encrypted, and you have a message on your screen saying, "Hello, 100 Bitcoin, please." And do you pay them? You pretty much have to, because what they do is they look up your company on in the UK, in the company's house, and I think most countries will have something similar, a register of companies, and they see what your turnover is, so they know what you're going to be insured for, so they know what to ask for, so they know what your insurers will pay out. This is business now, and in fact, in some cases, it's nation states. Those guys are tricky. They have a lot of resources at their disposal. So, a little worrying. I hope it's all okay. I've been away for a week. So.
Hopefully, without you. How do you combine like your normal day job with powerlifting?
with great difficulty, because I'll give you an example. This year, so I can only do so many competitions. The ones that I do are Classic Worlds, obviously, here. Equip Worlds, Equip Worlds is a great vibe. If you haven't seen it before, Equip lifting is so technical, so very, very different. You know, Classic Worlds is accessible and everybody. If you've never seen Equipped, and you know you get mystified by it, going, there's a guy in a bench shirt here, and he's had real trouble getting it to his chest, and then it's flown halfway up, and then he's really struggling with it. And if you don't understand that a bench shirt will fight you on the way down, will help you half of the way up, and then your job is to carry on the momentum and get it extended, it's just a different game. And in Equipped lifting, you will see that somebody will come out 160 squat, doesn't go to depth, and they go, right, okay, I'm going to put 180 on it. And classic lifters will go, you couldn't stand up with it. No, you need the weight to make the equipment work for you. So it's one of the only occasions where it didn't go, so I'll put more weight on the bar. Anyway, so Classic Worlds, Equip Worlds, Euro Classic, which is in Malta next year, and maybe some little weekend competitions. Oh, and Sheffield, of course. But so that, immediately, that's 3 weeks. And that's about how much leave I get from work. And this year, because it's also World Games year in Chengdu in China, I have had to actually take a week's unpaid leave. So it's costing me money to go and do this, and which is fine. But the problem is that there's no breaks. You know, I don't get any time off. I haven't been on holiday with my wife apart from to a powerlifting competition, which is fine, but you don't get to see places. In fact, this is probably the most I've seen. So, yeah, it's difficult. You're much better off if you have, flexibility. Like Maya from Malta, she's a gym owner and that kind of thing. So she can be flexible. She's her own boss. She can take leave when she needs it. I only get a certain amount. So it's tough, to be honest. I don't have a solution for it, apart from to pay my mortgage off in 6 years and then maybe step back or go into consulting or something like that, and then I can have do more competitions. But right now it's tough.
And would you like exchange it for your powerlifting for your job, or vice versa?
So I have a motto, which is never turn your hobby into a job.
Okay.
Right? So I did that with IT. I used to mess about with computers all the time. Now they're just a tool. And I use them and I consume media through them and that sort of thing, but they don't fascinate me in the same way. And it's the same with anything. If I turned this into a job, if I became, say the IPF were willing to pay somebody a salary to do, then I would have to do competitions that I wouldn't necessarily want to do. And then you're having to do something because it's your job, and you're not doing the ones that you want to do because it's a passion, and it becomes a little more difficult. So while it would be good if it was a job, it's kind of good that it isn't. And there's other reasons for that as well. If you start paying people for something, then what you start to get is people who want the money, not necessarily doing it for the love of the thing, right? So while we should, as we move to being a more professional sport, we should be recompensing people, you also have to watch out that you then get people who go into it professionally and don't have any love for it. They're just there for a paycheck. So we're in a good place right now. The sport's growing, but everybody who's involved is passionate about powerlifting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you really need it.
It's a nice balance, but it's going to tip one way or the other. Probably not in my time, but I would imagine the next generation of speakers are probably going to be professional speakers.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I would like to deep inside your motto. Never turn your job hobby into the job. How did you find out that it won't work? Because everyone is, you are saying something really controversial, because everyone say, hey, you want your hobby to become your job.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example, right? Do you play computer games?
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Right.
But everyone does.
Yeah, exactly. But you enjoy playing computer games, right? Yeah?
When I play.
So you'd go, being a games tester, that would be amazing. if you're a computer game tester, you're like, oh, I'd get to play games all day. No, you don't. You get to play that bit of that one level 17 times a day until it works out right, and you end up totally sick of it. Because let's face it, the bit that you're going to have to play that they want play testing is going to be one of those escort missions where the guy you're escorting walks faster than your walk and slower than your run, so it's shift on, shift off. Then he goes round the corner and triggers all the enemies and does a full Leroy Jenkins. That's what you end up doing. You end up doing the stuff you don't want to do, and so this is the problem. A job by definition is something that you wouldn't do unless they pay you to do it. Therefore, it's something that is not enjoyable, because if it's something that everybody enjoys doing, people do it for nothing. Like when I was a DJ, you know, I used to joke that, you know, people would say, do you pay your DJs? I'm like, hey, if I make money, I pay my DJs. But if I'm honest with you, DJs would pay to play.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's it. Because obviously only in that small scene. But.
Yeah. So you think one should do something they like doesn't like for getting money, and then on like for 8 hours, and then doing something,
and then do something that you love in your own time, on your own terms, for as long as you want to do it. That is what I would say to do. Yeah.
Okay.
That is the secret to a happy life.
Oh.
That and happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully it works.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been together for 20-something years, and we barely fight, and we never end a day on a disagreement.
Yeah, I think that's great. Like would you advise someone who's not married or something like that, like me? What's your recipe? How did you find,
I don't know. If you're going this like relationship advice, I guess, you've got to be friends. You have to be friends. If you're not friends, then you don't have that bond, and it's not going to last.
Okay.
I think that's the advice I would give you. Is this person your friend? If they are, then maybe you should look at forming a more concrete partnership.
That's really nice. I like to hear all this stuff. And right now, I got two things on my mind, and I think I will go for this. During your journey, not just in powerlifting, in your job, in your marriage, on every field you are, what was the hardest thing you've ever faced?
That's a good question. I think the hardest thing I've ever done was I rode a rented mountain bike from Grindelwald in Switzerland, near Lauterbrunnen. So it's in the next valley over from Lauterbrunnen. I rode from Grindelwald on dirt tracks on a rented mountain bike that was a little bit heavy and the gears were a little bit dodgy, all the way up to Kleine Scheidegg. That was a climb of 5,000 or 6,000 feet. Sorry, whatever that is. It's 2,000 meters.
I don't know.
2,000 meters solo on a mountain bike with one bottle of water and a bunch of energy tablets. Because I went to Switzerland and I thought, I'll just buy some energy gels there. I didn't know how expensive Switzerland was. I do now. I could not afford to buy energy gels. So I was eating dextrose tablets and drinking water to get it down. But it was all worth it, because when I got to the top, a girl looked at me and she said, did you just ride all the way up from Grindelwald on your own? I said, yeah. And she went, chapeau. Chapeau in cycling is the French thing. Chapeau, I take my hat off to you. So, which is why I shout that to the French lifters as well.
Yeah.
And I particularly like it when Tiffany Chapon does something, because I can say chapeau, chapeau.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is pretty good.
But
So I think that was the hardest thing I've ever done.
But I thought like biggest challenge for you, like some.
Nothing really stands out, Everything is a challenge, but you just have to take it one day at a time, and just approach it. I couldn't really say.
I
don't fear adversity. I just kind of go, is this what I've got to do? Okay, let's get it done.
Yeah. So So always you never like procrastinate, or just facing your problems straight away, or what's
I'm
your?
not saying that. Sometimes I keep them on ice until I'm ready to deal with them,
Uh-huh.
one thing at a time. But yeah, you can't bottle stuff up because it doesn't go away and it actually gets worse.
Yeah, that's true.
So you have to address problems, and as you get older and more confident in your life, you become more able to do that kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
And did you have some, because it's called my show, I call it Quit and Build Show.
Yeah.
Because of things that happened in my life. Also, I got a t-shirt right now.
This podcast is brought to you by Quit and Build, new powerlifting brand that stands for quitting weakness and building strength, physical and mental. If you want to support this show, here's code just for you because you made it till this point. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, yeah.
But I brought you one because I'm going home today.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
what's your size actually? L or
believe
XL?
it or not, medium.
Medium?
Medium.
Really? Oh, wow.
I'm a tall guy, but I'm skinny. I'm cyclist built.
Yeah.
Dynamic. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah, medium.
Okay,
I
brought you a t-shirt.
Okay.
And did you have some like quit and build moment when you have to leave something behind to get something bigger, better, or even though it doesn't have to be better, it has to be something new. Your approach.
I've kind of done that my whole life, really. You move through things that you do, like singing in a band, and then I kind of didn't want to do that anymore. It's a lot of effort singing in a band for very, very little reward. If we made enough money to buy the beer that we wanted to drink at the end of the night, we were glad. It was the same with DJing. I enjoyed it, but the time had come to like move on because it's hard work, especially in the scene I was in, which was psychedelic trance. The parties seemed to go on until 4 in, 6 in, and they're on Friday night, Saturday night, there's an after party on Sunday. You haven't got any time to do anything else, and you're very, very tired. Yeah. So I guess that probably was, because as my career in IT moved forward, I didn't have the time to spend on going to psychedelic trance events anymore. So I kind of made the decision to leave that behind. I mean, that was a long time ago. The last time I played a gig in a nightclub, you could still smoke in nightclubs in the UK. So that might have even been before you were born.
Oh, that's
so it's a little while ago. I have a photo on my phone of me DJing somewhere.
It was like 90.
It was 2000s. It was early 2000s, but there was a CRT monitor in the background, and those things now you're like
2000s.
2003, 2004.
I was born in 2004, so.
Right. Okay.
So you were right.
But yeah, that was a time when I had to go. Yeah, you know what? The career is more important to me than doing this. Okay. So I guess that's it. I guess that was my quit and build moment.
Yeah, and how do you deal with the hard decisions? When you...
Like anything else, really, you just have to weigh it up, work out what the advantage is on both sides, and then make a jump, make a decision. Yeah. I do this at work all the time, obviously. I always say that cybersecurity is a balance between security and usability. If you want if you want to make a computer really, really, really secure, then what you do is you turn it off.
Yeah.
Encase it in concrete, put it in a lead-lined trunk, throw it to the bottom of the sea, and then kill everybody who knows where it is.
Yeah.
Then it's secure. Otherwise, you've got a problem. On the other hand, that doesn't make it very usable. So you have to make concessions. You go, okay, well, it has to be turned on. Like, it can't be at the bottom of the sea. It's just it's a pros and cons. You write up the pros and cons, whether you actually write it down or you just tick it off in your head, or whether you do it talking to your wife and going, no, I don't know, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. But then if I don't do that, then this will happen. Yeah. That's my decision-making process. Okay. Weigh up the pros and cons, work out which one you want to do. And then sometimes jump the other way and go, well, that's the sensible decision, but you know what? I'm going to do this anyway.
Yeah. And do you suffer of overthinking or not? Like in that side,
never stop overthinking anything. Yeah. It's I'm undiagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I'm high functioning autistic in some way. I'm into IT. I collect things. I could tell you my phone number from 40 years ago.
Oh.
I was a train spotter when I was a kid, right? So that does lead you absolutely to overthink everything. And at some point, you just have to let it go. You just have to go, it won't do me any more good thinking about this. So I'm just going to make this decision.
Okay. And you're dealing with just letting it go, you know, with the overthinking, just letting you leave it, let it go, or?
I'm sometimes better at it than others.
But
Sometimes I'm good at doing that.
Yeah.
Other times I find it difficult.
Yeah.
You know, it's we're organic creatures, and we don't work like computers. We're not digital. So yeah, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes I can't leave something alone. Sometimes I can go, oh, that doesn't bother me at all. That's not a problem.
And do you regret your mistakes back there?
Yeah.
Like, or how you deal with that?
Well, I'm gonna read you a quote from. It's probably not theirs, but it's from the start of a Butthole Surfers song called Sweat Loaf. And the quote is, "What does regret mean?" And the guy says, "Well, the funny thing about regret is it's better to regret something you have done than to regret something you haven't done."
Oh.
So, you know, if you're not sure, don't just sit there and go, "Oh, maybe I should have." Go for it. It's the phrase from Rocky IV. If you die, you die.
Yeah.
You know, just go for it. You've only got one life to live. You might as well live the hell out of it, right?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like to hear it, and yeah, that's so nice to hear it. You know, just those kind of things. And from those, like, you know, we sank really deep into our just. I feel it like that. And I will do something that shouldn't be done during interviews. I will pull it up because I have one question for you because we haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah.
Your Sheffield career. Sorry for that, but we really need it because it's like you are the voice of Sheffield, actually.
Yeah.
If I can call it like that.
Yeah, they used me on the voiceovers last year and everything, for which I was paid in this T-shirt and a matching orange hoodie. I really like this range, by the way.
Yeah.
The orange is really cool, and the Dutchies love it as well, of course.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Really, I got Sheffield because I was around. I had the right voice. My wife was working at Sheffield at the time. She used to work in finance at SBD, and so it was like I was the person they chose, and then I guess I did a good job.
Definitely.
Although, to be honest, that crowd was so easy to motivate.
Yeah.
It really helps that Sheffield has so many pubs in the city centre. There's a big pub chain in the UK called Wetherspoons, and Sheffield has got 2 of them right next door. That's so, and the first Sheffield, it was a sunny day, it was nice, you know. So people had been having a lovely time, drinking, all the rest of it. Not too much, but enough to make them happy. The doors opened, they all streamed in. I was like, oh my, there's a buzz in this room already, you know. But I guess I'm just the right guy for it.
Yeah.
I'm just lucky, you know.
Oh.
In the same way that
you're not lucky. It's just, what do you think about luck? Like how you approach being lucky?
I don't think there's any such thing really as luck, but you describe when you beat the odds, when there's a 3% chance of something happening and it happens, then you feel lucky. But in reality, it's all just a numbers game, right?
Yeah. That's
so, but I feel lucky in that I'm basically I've got good genetics for announcing because I've got a decent voice and all the rest of it, and that's the luck really, and being in the right place at the right time as well, you know.
Yeah.
But you could say the same about Ryan Lapidat, my wife Joe Whiteley, who also commentates Sheffield with Ryan. So Ryan does the hype, Joe does the numbers, and you know, fills in with some of the strategy and things like that. We were just the right people in the right place at the right time. Essentially.
But don't you think on other side of the luck there's some work, you know, because some
people say you make your own luck.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. As soon as I heard about Sheffield, I was like, I want to do that. I have to do that. That has to be me, you know? And I'm fortunate enough that it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you have some crazy stories from because, you know, you...
Well, there is Jonathan Kaiko. Didn't win yesterday. Apparently, he's gone first, third in his last 4 Worlds appearances. So Kaiko, first next year, all right? John and Nina, they have a book that they pass around, and it's write who you are, write a message to us, write a message to your younger self. I'll come back to the younger self thing. First Sheffield, right? Kaiko wins, and he is being did he win? Was he on the podium? We were waiting for him for the medal ceremony anyway, because what had happened was he was pulled for drug testing. Yeah, and the way that is supposed to work is that they will say to you, right, we're going to test you, and from that moment on, they have to have eyes on you.
I know.
They don't have to do it right away, but they have to have eyes on you to see that you haven't gone anywhere or done anything weird or anything like that. But what they said was, we're going to pull you for drug testing. He went, oh, okay, should we do it now? And what that meant was, because it's quite a lengthy process, I'm not going to go into it, it's a little graphic.
I know, I was
bodily fluids and the pouring of them.
I saw.
And a lot of the time, if you've just done a deadlift, then you might have made sure that you haven't got anything, you might have made sure you've not got anything on board. So then you have to hydrate, and it can take a long time. Anyway, it took him about 20 minutes, and we're like, where's Kaiko? Where's Kaiko? We're waiting for the people waiting on the podium. We had Zydrunas Savickas, the Lithuanian strongman, and we're standing there. We go, where is he? And then we find out he's drug tested. I actually said to Zydrunas, is it like this in strongman? He said, no, it is worse. So it could be worse. So going back to the book, they said, what would you advise your younger self? And I said, word to the wise, younger self, at the first Sheffield, make sure you get Kaiko before the drug test. I don't think he's read it yet. I'm waiting for the stories. So that's one of the crazy stories. This isn't kind of good for the sport, but I'm going to tell you the story anyway. At the big Worlds in Halmstad in 21, there was a masters lifter who it was weird. He was kind of running when it was time for his attempt. He was always late to the platform, and it's because he was outside the warm-up room outside. And he'd run through the warm-up room, run onto the platform, do his bench, and then run away. Anyway, someone spotted that what he'd actually done was he had a resistance band, an orange resistance band, big thick one, taped to this arm, taped to this arm. So he'd kind of made his own slingshot stroke bench shirt under his shirt. And there's an amazing video of him running with someone else chasing after him because they'd spotted him. And you can hear on the video, what's going on? He's cheating. I don't run for nothing. So he was caught anyway, and it looked like he'd been doing it for, his numbers were consistent. So he must have been doing this for a while. But it's something of a crazy story, really.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, I don't know. I probably have a lot more, but probably a lot of them are not safe for broadcast, right? So you'll have to buy me a drink, and I'll maybe catch up with you then.
Yeah, that's true. Like, it's crazy to hear all, even though there are not the craziest stories, but still to hear everything like that.
Yeah.
My man, it's crazy. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be interviewed by you, and it was great to have you back me up on the mic the last couple of times.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. You've got a decent career ahead of you.
Thank you.
But
I will try my best.
Don't turn it into a job.
Okay. I have to think about it actually for me, because it's like, I'm floating.